I stride into Miami Community College's evening literature class at 7:42 p.m., 3 minutes before the professor locks the door. My Louboutin heels click against the worn linoleum, drawing stares from students who obviously don't expect a woman fresh from a Vogue shoot to be seeking her bachelor's degree at 29. The fluorescent lights catch my blonde hair as I slip into a back row seat, hoping anonymity might be possible in this cramped classroom that smells of chalk dust and dreams deferred. Professor Martinez, a weathered man with kind eyes, distributes photocopies of Maya Angelou's Phenomenal Woman and announces our assignment. I want you to analyze what makes this poem revolutionary, he says, his voice carrying decades of passion for literature. Due next week. The brunette in the third row raises her hand immediately. She's maybe 5'6", with shoulder-length hair that catches amber highlights under the harsh lighting. Her green eyes blaze with an intensity I've never seen in the fashion world as she speaks. The poem challenges conventional beauty standards, she says, her voice steady and confident. Angelou celebrates natural confidence over manufactured perfection. She's talking about the power of authenticity. Her words hit me like a physical blow. Everything about my career revolves around manufactured perfection. The airbrushed magazine covers, the impossible body standards, the constant pressure to maintain an image that barely resembles who I am underneath the makeup. Interesting perspective, Miss Hughes. Professor Martinez nods. Can you elaborate? Emily Hughes. I file the name away as she continues speaking, her hands gesturing expressively as she explains her interpretation. She talks about inner strength radiating outward, about beauty that doesn't require validation from others. I find myself leaning forward, captivated by her passion for ideas that feel dangerous to someone whose livelihood depends on perpetuating the very standards she's dismantling. Class ends at 9:15. I'm gathering my things when Emily approaches my desk, a field notebook covered in what look like bird sketches tucked under her arm. You seemed really engaged during the discussion, she says, her smile genuine and unguarded. I'm Emily. Valerie, I respond, wondering if she recognizes me from the Calvin Klein billboard on Biscayne Boulevard. Would you like to discuss the poem over coffee sometime? I feel like there's so much more to unpack about Angelou's message. Her enthusiasm is infectious, and I realize it's been months since someone wanted to spend time with me for my thoughts, rather than my appearance. Looking at Emily Hughes in her simple cotton dress and worn canvas shoes, I make an impulsive decision that will change everything. Yes, I say. I'd like that very much. We meet at Ocean Cafe the following evening, a weathered beachside place where the salt air mingles with the aroma of Cuban coffee. Emily arrives first, already seated at a corner table with her field notebook open, sketching what appears to be a pelican in flight. She's wearing faded jeans and a simple white blouse that somehow makes her more beautiful than any designer outfit I've worn. When you came, she says, closing her notebook as I approach. I almost didn't, I admit, settling into the wicker chair across from her. My agent thinks continuing education is a waste of time for someone in my profession. Emily tilts her head, studying me with those penetrating green eyes. What profession? Before I can answer, she launches into an explanation of her work tracking migratory patterns along Florida's coast. Her passion transforms her entire demeanor as she describes following flamingo colonies from the Keys to the Bahamas, documenting their feeding habits and nesting behaviors. She talks about spending dawn hours in hip-deep water, waiting motionless for hours to observe a single interaction. You must think I'm obsessed, she laughs, tucking a strand of brunette hair behind her ear. I think you're remarkable, I say, surprised by my own honesty. When's the last time you were genuinely excited about? Her question catches me off guard. I can't remember feeling the kind of passionate enthusiasm she radiates about anything in my career. Magazine covers, runway shows, brand endorsements. They all feel hollow compared to her dedication to understanding these creatures she clearly loves. I don't know, I whisper. We walk along the beach afterward, our conversation flowing from Angelou's poetry to Emily's research to my reluctant admission about the emptiness of constant performance. When she stops to point out a rare brown pelican fishing near the jetty, explaining its unique diving technique, she brushes sand from my cheek with gentle fingers. The touch is electric. Without thinking, I turn my face toward her palm. Valerie, she whispers, and then we're kissing, soft and tentative at first, tasting salt air and possibility. Her lips are warm and natural, nothing like the calculated passion of modeling shoots or superficial relationships I've known. When we break apart, she doesn't step back immediately. I should tell you something, I say, my heart racing. I'm a fashion model. You probably recognize me from the Calvin Klein campaign downtown. Emily's expression doesn't change. She studies my face as if seeing me for the first time, then smiles. I don't really pay attention to advertising, she admits. I've always preferred observing natural beauty over manufactured perfection. Her words echo her classroom analysis of Angelou's poem, and I realize she's been seeing the real me all along, not the airbrushed image plastered across Miami billboards, but something authentic I didn't even know existed. Most people want to know about the glamorous life, I say. Most people are missing the point, Emily replies, her hand finding mine in the sand. Tell me what you actually think about. Standing there with waves lapping at our feet, and Emily's fingers intertwined with mine, I understand that everything is about to change. The manufactured world I've inhabited feels suddenly fragile compared to the solid reality of this woman who sees through surfaces to something deeper. For the first time in years, I want to tell someone the truth. We begin meeting at South Point Beach at dawn, an hour when Miami belongs to joggers and early fishermen rather than paparazzi hunting for compromising photographs. Emily teaches me to distinguish between the sharp cry of a royal tern and the gentler call of a laughing gull, while I share stories from fashion weeks in Paris and Milan that sound increasingly surreal when spoken aloud in this natural setting. You walked for Versace? Emily asks, adjusting her binoculars as we watch a flock of sandwich terns dive for breakfast fish. 3 seasons running, I reply, but the accomplishment feels hollow compared to Emily's excitement over identifying a rare roseate spoonbill feeding in the shallows. Her genuine enthusiasm for these creatures makes my professional achievements seem manufactured and temporary. Emily's research trailer sits on stilts near the marina, filled with charts mapping bird migration routes and photographs documenting feeding behaviors. The cramped space smells like salt water and coffee, walls covered with her meticulous field notes, written in precise handwriting. When an afternoon thunderstorm traps us inside, rain drumming against the aluminum roof, our conversation turns more intimate. Diana thinks I'm distracted lately, I confess, watching lightning illuminate the bay through her small window. Are you? Emily asks, moving closer on the narrow bench where we're sitting. Instead of answering, I kiss her. This second kiss carries more urgency than our tentative first encounter at the beach. Emily's hands find my face, her fingers gentle but insistent, as thunder rolls overhead and her field journals surround us like witnesses to this secret courtship we're building away from both our professional worlds. I've never felt this way about anyone, I whisper against her lips. Neither have I, she admits, and I realize we're both crossing into uncharted territory. Back in my regulated world of photo shoots and brand meetings, maintaining this double life becomes increasingly challenging. During a swimwear campaign for a luxury resort, Diana notices my distraction as I miss direction cues and seem disconnected from the artificial paradise we're creating. Where's your head, Val? Diana demands during a break, her designer sunglasses reflecting the manufactured beach setting. This campaign could launch you into the international market. I'm focused, I lie, thinking about Emily's breakthrough paper on flamingo migration patterns that she submitted to the Journal of Avian Biology last week. Her research documenting a previously unknown feeding ground near Flamingo Bay could revolutionize understanding of their seasonal movements. You better be, Diana warns. Marcus Bell wants to feature your portrait series in his new gallery opening. This could establish you as more than just a pretty face. That evening, Emily's excitement about her research acceptance overshadows any gallery opportunity. She calls me from the university lab, her voice breathless with professional triumph. They want to publish my findings about the Flamingo Bay colony, she says. 3 years of dawn observations finally paying off. Her success makes me prouder than any magazine cover ever has. When Emily gives her presentation to the university's ornithology department, I slip into the back row of the lecture hall, watching her command the room with knowledge and passion. She transforms before my eyes from the gentle woman who teaches me bird calls into a confident scholar commanding respect from professors twice her age. After her presentation, Emily finds me waiting outside the lecture hall. "You came," she says, surprise and pleasure mixing in her voice. "I wouldn't miss it," I reply truthfully. Marcus Bell's gallery opening feels like stepping back into my superficial world after weeks of dawn beaches and scientific discussions. The portrait series features me in various Miami locations, but standing beside Emily as she studies the photographs with genuine, artistic interest, I realize these images capture only surface beauty. "The photographer caught something authentic in your expression," Emily observes, studying a black and white portrait taken at Vizcaya Gardens. "That was shot the morning after we first talked about Angelou's poem, I admit." Emily squeezes my hand as gallery patrons swirl around us with wine glasses and art world chatter that suddenly feels meaningless compared to our private conversations about migration patterns and authentic beauty found in unexpected places. Emily's apartment overlooks Biscayne Bay, its walls covered with her bird photography, pelicans mid-dive, flamingos in synchronized flight, herons standing perfectly still in golden marsh light. The space reflects her passion for natural beauty, unlike my sterile South Beach condo filled with fashion magazines and designer accessories that suddenly feel insignificant. "Stay tonight," Emily whispers, after we've spent hours discussing her latest research findings about seasonal nesting patterns. Her invitation carries weight beyond simple companionship. We both understand we're crossing a threshold that will change everything between us. In her bedroom, moonlight streams through windows overlooking the water as we undress each other slowly, reverently. Emily's hands explore my body with the same careful attention she gives to cataloging bird behaviors. Her touch awakens sensations I've never experienced, her whispered endearments mixing scientific Latin names with tender English phrases. When we make love, our bodies find their own natural rhythm, and I understand for the first time what genuine intimacy feels like beyond the manufactured passion of modeling shoots. Afterward, lying in Emily's arms as dawn approaches, I realize I'm falling deeper than I ever imagined possible. Her breathing matches the rhythm of waves outside, and I trace lazy patterns on her shoulder while she sleeps peacefully against me. 3 days later, I attend Emily's guest lecture at the university's Environmental Science Symposium. Watching her present her flamingo research to a packed auditorium, I'm struck by how she commands attention through knowledge and passion rather than physical appearance. Her presentation about migration disruption due to coastal development receives a standing ovation from professors and graduate students alike. "Climate change is forcing birds to adapt faster than evolution typically allows," Emily explains to the captivated audience. "My 5-year study documents behavioral modifications that could determine survival for entire species." After her lecture, department heads approach Emily with collaboration offers and research opportunities. Her expertise has established her as a rising authority in ornithological conservation, and I feel prouder watching her professional recognition than I've ever felt about my own magazine covers. "You were incredible up there," I tell her as we walk across campus afterward. "It felt incredible," Emily admits, her eyes bright with professional fulfillment. "Like everything I've worked toward is finally worth something." Marcus Bell's opening night arrives 2 weeks later, featuring my portrait series alongside works by established Miami artists. Emily surprises me by appearing at the gallery in an elegant black dress I've never seen before, her presence grounding me in a world that suddenly feels less important than what we're building together. "The photographer captured something authentic," Emily observes, studying a portrait of me taken at Vizcaya Gardens. "There's vulnerability in your expression that's completely absent from your commercial work." "That was shot the morning after we talked about Angelou's poem," I explain. Something had shifted inside me. As gallery patrons swirl around us with wine and art world conversation, Emily and I create our own private space amid the social performance. Her hand finds mine as we discuss the intersection of natural beauty and artistic representation, our voices low and intimate despite the crowded room. Diana approaches us during the evening, her practiced smile faltering slightly as she observes our obvious connection. "Valerie, there are important people here who want to meet you," she says, her tone carrying subtle warning. "I'm exactly where I need to be," I reply, not releasing Emily's hand. Later that night, back at Emily's apartment, we make love again with an urgency born from understanding that our separate worlds are beginning to collide in ways that might force impossible choices between authentic happiness and professional survival. Diana's call comes at 6:43 a.m., jarring me from sleep in Emily's arms. Her voice carries the kind of panic that instantly alerts every nerve in my body. "Valerie, you need to sit down," she says, her usual composed demeanor completely shattered. "The Lux model management startup you invested in, it's gone, completely collapsed. The FBI raided their offices yesterday for securities fraud." My blood turns to ice. 18 months ago, Diana convinced me to invest my entire savings portfolio, nearly $2 million, in what seemed like a revolutionary modeling agency concept. I'd co-signed contracts guaranteeing investor commitments, believing I was building my future beyond the runway. "What does that mean for me?" I whisper, careful not to wake Emily. "You're personally liable for the debt. The contracts you signed mean creditors can come after your assets directly. We're talking about financial ruin, Val." Emily stirs beside me, her green eyes immediately alert to my distress. I mouth "work crisis" and slip into the kitchen, my hands shaking as Diana explains the devastating reality. My South Beach condo, my car, even my future earnings are all at risk. The glamorous life I've built could disappear within weeks. "How much do I owe?" I ask, though I already know the answer will be catastrophic. "Conservative estimate? $4.7 million, plus legal fees." After hanging up, I sit on Emily's small balcony overlooking Biscayne Bay, watching early morning joggers move along the waterfront like nothing in the world has changed. Emily finds me there 20 minutes later, wrapped in my terror and disbelief. "What happened?" she asks, settling beside me with 2 cups of coffee. "I'm financially destroyed," I admit, completely wiped out. Before Emily can respond, her phone rings. She glances at the display, frowning. "Dr. Martinez from the university," she says apologetically. "I have to take this." I watch her face change as she listens, her expression shifting from confusion to horror to resigned devastation. When she hangs up, her hands are trembling. "The university is cutting my department's funding by 60%, Emily says, her voice hollow. "And my flamingo migration study is being terminated immediately. 5 years of research just ended." "What about your position?" "Gone. Budget cuts eliminated 3 junior research positions, including mine." Emily's professional composure cracks as the reality settles in. "I have 60 days to conclude my study and vacate the research facilities." We sit in stunned silence, both processing the simultaneous destruction of our carefully built lives. The morning that began with comfortable intimacy has transformed into shared catastrophe, our separate professional worlds collapsing in parallel. "We need to talk about practical things," Emily says finally, her scientist's mind grappling with logistics. "My lease expires next month, and without university funding I can't afford renewal. My mortgage payments are 3 times what most people pay in rent," I admit. "Even if I book every available job, I can't service the debt I'm facing." We walk to our usual beach spot that evening, the place where our relationship began with discussions about authentic beauty and natural confidence. Tonight, watching dolphins play in the surf while our financial disasters loom overhead, Maya Angelou's celebration of inner strength feels like mockery. "Maybe this is the universe telling us something," Emily says, her voice barely audible above the waves. "Like what?" "That we were living in a fantasy. You're a successful international model, and I'm a broke academic studying birds most people ignore." Emily picks up a piece of driftwood, examining it with the same careful attention she gives everything. "Maybe some gaps are too wide to bridge." "Don't say that," I plead, taking her hand. "We'll figure this out." But even as I speak the words, I'm calculating impossible numbers. My modeling career, which once seemed invincible, now feels fragile in the face of debt that could follow me for decades. Emily's research passion, the thing that made her most herself, has been rendered economically worthless by institutional budget cuts. Standing on the beach where we first kissed, watching Emily's face in the moonlight as she processes losing everything she's worked toward, I realize we're both facing choices that could destroy not just our individual futures, but whatever future we might have built together. The tide is coming in, erasing our footprints from the sand, and I can't shake the feeling that it's washing away more than just temporary marks. The reality of survival hits harder than any financial projection on paper. I take whatever modeling work Diana can find. Local department store catalogs, small-scale commercial shoots, even a questionable swimsuit calendar that pays barely enough to cover my condo's monthly HOA fees. The international campaigns and luxury brand endorsements have vanished along with my pristine reputation. This Dillard's shoot isn't beneath you, Diana insists as we drive to a strip mall photography studio in Kendall. Pride doesn't pay creditors. Emily, meanwhile, works part-time at Feathers and Friends, a specialty pet store near the university where her ornithology degree qualifies her to sell parakeet food and clean bird cages. I find her there one afternoon, wearing a name tag and explaining cockatiel dietary needs to a retiree from Aventura. "Welcome to my new career," Emily says, with bitter humor after the customer leaves. 4 years studying avian behavior, now I'm recommending birdseed brands. We're both exhausted constantly now, scraping together enough money for basic survival while watching our previous lives disappear. Emily's research trailer gets reclaimed by the university, her 5 years of meticulous data reduced to boxes stacked in my increasingly cramped condo. "I can't keep paying for storage," I tell her one evening as we review our combined financial disaster. "The creditors are circling, and my landlord is making noise about the mortgage situation. And I'll throw it away," Emily says quietly. Flamingo migration patterns don't matter when you can't afford rent. Her resignation breaks something inside me. This brilliant woman who once commanded university lecture halls now talks about discarding her life's work like it means nothing. I pull her close, tasting salt from tears I didn't realize were falling. "We're going to survive this," I whisper against her hair. "I know," she replies, but her voice carries no conviction. The evening Emily's landlord serves her eviction notice, we sit in her nearly empty apartment sharing a bottle of cheap wine and watching the sun set over Biscayne Bay. In 12 hours, she'll officially be homeless. "I have a proposal," I say, my heart racing with nervous anticipation. "If it involves borrowing money from loan sharks, I'm not interested," Emily jokes, though her humor has developed sharp edges lately. "Move in with me." "Officially?" Emily studies my face in the dying light, searching for certainty neither of us possesses. "Your studio barely fits one person, Val, and your creditors are going to seize everything anyway." "Then we'll figure it out together," I insist, taking her hands. "Better to be broke together than separately." Our kiss tastes of desperation and wine, but underneath lies the same connection that brought us together months ago when our biggest concerns were poetry analysis and bird migration patterns. When we break apart, Emily's green eyes hold mine with fierce determination. "Okay," she whispers, "let's try." Moving Emily's remaining possessions into my 600-square-foot studio requires creative engineering. Her research materials fill every corner, transforming my minimalist space into a cramped archive of scientific passion. We can barely navigate around the boxes, but having her physically present feels like the first stable thing in weeks. Our first night sharing my narrow bed becomes unexpectedly intimate despite our exhaustion. The Miami heat makes the small space stifling, and we shed clothes quickly, seeking relief and connection in equal measure. Emily's body against mine feels like home in a world where everything else has become temporary and uncertain. "I love you," I whisper as we move together, sweat mingling on overheated skin. "I love you too," she responds, her voice fierce with conviction even as her body responds to mine with increasing urgency. Afterward, lying tangled together on sheets damp with humidity and passion, we talk about immediate survival strategies. Emily's part-time pet store wages, combined with my unpredictable modeling income, might cover basic expenses if we're extremely careful. "We're actually doing this," Emily murmurs, her head on my shoulder as early morning traffic begins humming outside our single window. "Yeah," I reply, stroking her hair and trying to convince myself that love and determination might be enough to overcome the financial disaster surrounding us. But even as I hold Emily close in our shared bed, calculating rent and grocery money in my head, I cannot shake the growing fear that survival mode might destroy the very thing we're fighting to preserve. Diana's call comes like a lifeline wrapped in moral compromise. The Meridian Cosmetics campaign offers 6 months in New York, guaranteed salary of $300,000, plus residuals that could solve my debt crisis completely. The catch weighs heavily as she explains the contract terms over scratchy phone connection. They want exclusive rights, Val. No outside relationships, no social media mentions of personal life, complete brand dedication. It's old school image control, but the money is real. I stare at Emily sleeping peacefully in our cramped bed, her research journals scattered around our tiny studio like monuments to dreams deferred. The pet store uniform draped over our only chair reminds me daily of how far she's fallen from her university position. This contract could save us both, but the price feels impossible. I need 24 hours to decide, I tell Diana. Don't wait too long. They have backup candidates. The same morning, Emily receives her own impossible offer, delivered via email from Dr. Patricia Ramirez at the Costa Rica Biological Research Institute. They want Emily to lead a 2-year study of exotic bird populations in Monteverde Cloud Forest, fully funded with housing provided. It's the kind of dream position that launched legendary ornithology careers. They found my Florida research in the Journal of Avian Biology, Emily explains, her face glowing with professional excitement for the first time in months. This could reestablish my career completely. Costa Rica, I repeat numbly. For 2 years. The contract includes potential extension based on findings. It could become permanent. Emily's enthusiasm dims as she processes the geographic reality. But it means leaving Miami. Leaving you. We spend the afternoon walking our usual beach route, both carrying the weight of choices that could destroy what we've built together. The familiar sound of waves and seabirds feels mocking now, a reminder of simpler times when our biggest challenge was scheduling secret meetings around work commitments. Maybe this is the mature thing, Emily says, as we reach the jetty where we first kissed. We're both being offered chances to rebuild our careers. Real professionals would take these opportunities. Since when do you care about being mature? I challenge, but my heart isn't behind the fight. Since I've been selling parakeet food instead of conducting research that matters. Emily kicks at the sand, her frustration evident. I didn't spend 4 years in graduate school to waste my expertise on pet store customers. That evening, I sign the Meridian contract without telling Emily, planning to surprise her with the financial security once the first payment arrives. The guilt tastes bitter, but I convince myself that solving our money problems will give us options currently beyond reach. Emily discovers the signed papers the next morning while searching for aspirin in my purse. Her face goes through a sequence of emotions, confusion, hurt, betrayal, finally settling on cold anger that I've never seen before. You made this decision without me, she says, holding the contract like evidence of my deception. I was trying to save us, I defend weakly. By planning to disappear for 6 months? By signing agreements that forbid mentioning our relationship? Emily's voice rises, then drops to deadly quiet. You were saving yourself, Val. Don't dress it up as noble sacrifice. In retaliation, Emily accepts the Costa Rica position that afternoon, calling Dr. Ramirez while I'm at a catalog shoot for discount office furniture. Her email confirmation arrives in my phone with brutal efficiency, departure date in 3 weeks, research timeline extending through next December at minimum. 2 can play the unilateral decision game, Emily announces when I return to find her packing her research materials into fresh shipping boxes. This is ridiculous, I say. We're both sabotaging our relationship out of pride. No, we're both choosing careers over whatever this was, Emily corrects, her tone clinical and detached. Maybe that's what adults do when fantasy crashes into reality. Our final argument happens at Miami International Airport 3 weeks later. Emily's flight to San Jose boards in 30 minutes, while my New York departure is scheduled for tomorrow morning. Standing near the international terminal, surrounded by travelers beginning new adventures, we're ending ours with bitter words and wounded pride. I could still walk away from this, I offer desperately. And I could refuse the Costa Rica position, Emily replies. But we won't, will we? Because when it really matters, we both choose ourselves. Our goodbye kiss tastes of tears and finality, fierce and desperate as boarding announcements echo around us. Passengers waiting for flights watch our drama with varying degrees of interest and sympathy. But I don't care about public scenes anymore. I love you, I whisper against Emily's lips. I love you too, she whispers back. That's what makes this so damn tragic. Watching Emily disappear through the security checkpoint, carrying everything that matters to her in 2 suitcases and a laptop bag, I realize we're both making the mature, practical choice, while our hearts shatter into pieces neither money nor career advancement can repair. New York's relentless pace initially provides the distraction I desperately need. The Meridian Cosmetics campaign consumes 18-hour days between photo shoots, promotional events, and brand meetings, designed to transform me into the face of natural confidence. An irony that tastes bitter considering I've never felt less authentic. My Manhattan apartment overlooks Central Park, its luxury a stark contrast to the cramped Miami studio Emily and I shared for those brief, desperate months. The financial crisis that drove us apart feels like ancient history, with Meridian payments clearing my debts within the first month. I should feel relieved, successful, vindicated in my practical decision. Instead, I feel hollow. Diana visits during my 6th week in the city, bubbling with excitement about contract extensions and international opportunities this campaign has generated. She finds me on my apartment's balcony at sunset, staring south toward Florida with a glass of wine I haven't touched. You look miserable for someone who just solved their financial problems, she observes, settling into the adjacent chair. This campaign has revitalized your career completely. I know, I reply, but the accomplishment feels meaningless without Emily to share it with. Have you heard anything about her? About the Costa Rica position? Valerie, you need to move forward. This obsession with the bird researcher isn't healthy. Diana's tone carries familiar frustration with my inability to embrace professional success. There are plenty of eligible people in New York who would appreciate dating someone of your caliber. That evening, alone in my pristine apartment, I compose and delete dozens of emails to Emily. Every attempt sounds either desperate or casual, neither reflecting the complex grief I carry daily. The silence between us has stretched for 3 months, filled only by her occasional social media posts showing exotic birds against lush tropical backgrounds. Emily finally breaks our communication blackout with a late-night email sent during my 12th week in New York. Her message consists of 3 sentences. Saw your Meridian ad in the San Jose airport. You look beautiful but sad. I miss you terribly. I stare at my laptop screen until dawn, crafting responses that never capture what I need to say. How do you explain that professional success feels empty when achieved at the cost of authentic love? How do you admit that solving financial problems didn't solve the deeper crisis of losing someone who made you want to be genuine? Instead of responding to Emily's email, I call Marcus Bell on impulse. His gallery has flourished since featuring my portrait series, and his voice carries warmth when he recognizes my number. Valerie, your New York campaign is everywhere. Congratulations. Marcus, I need to ask you something crazy, I interrupt, my heart racing with sudden possibility. What would you think about partnering with Emily Hughes on a nature photography project combining wildlife conservation with fashion imagery? The silence stretches long enough that I worry the connection has dropped. When Marcus speaks again, his voice carries intrigued excitement. That's actually brilliant. Environmental fashion consciousness is trending, and Emily's bird expertise could create something unprecedented. He pauses, then continues more carefully. But didn't she take a position in Costa Rica? And aren't you contracted exclusively to Meridian? Details, I say, though both obstacles loom enormous. Would you be interested if we could work out logistics? Absolutely. When can we meet? After hanging up, I realize I've committed to a fantasy requiring Emily's cooperation and Meridian's blessing for competing interests. The rational part of my mind catalogs all the reasons this idea is professionally suicidal and geographically impossible. But for the first time since arriving in New York, I feel genuinely excited about something beyond contract obligations and debt payments. My reflection in the apartment's floor-to-ceiling windows shows a woman who looks successful and polished, everything Diana and Meridian wanted me to become. But beneath the professional exterior, I recognize something Emily taught me to value: authentic desire for meaningful work shared with someone whose passion challenges and inspires my own. 3,000 miles away, Emily is probably beginning her morning research routine in Costa Rica's cloud forest, documenting species I'll never see while building the career she deserves. The practical voice in my head insists we made the right choices, that adults prioritize financial security over romantic fantasies. But my heart knows better, and tomorrow I'm going to risk everything comfortable and safe to find out if love can survive the mistakes we made. Breaking my Meridian contract requires paying back advance payments plus penalty fees that consume most of my accumulated earnings. But standing in the law office signing termination papers feels like the first honest decision I've made in months. Diana doesn't speak to me during the entire taxi ride to JFK Airport, her professional disappointment palpable in the space between us. "You're destroying everything we've built," she says finally as I grab my single suitcase from the trunk. "I'm trying to save what actually matters," I reply, though I'm not certain Emily will even agree to see me. The flight to San Jose stretches endlessly, my mind cycling through possible scenarios ranging from joyful reunion to devastating rejection. Emily's research station in Monteverde operates on minimal internet connectivity, making contact nearly impossible. I'm flying blind toward Costa Rica with nothing but Marcus Bell's gallery partnership offer and desperate hope. San Jose's airport overwhelms my senses with tropical humidity and Spanish announcements echoing through crowded terminals. The 3-hour bus ride to Monteverde winds through mountains shrouded in perpetual mist, past coffee plantations and small villages that exist worlds away from Manhattan's concrete luxury. The Cloud Forest Research Station consists of modest buildings connected by muddy trails, everything draped in moisture that never completely evaporates. I find Emily at the bird observation platform, her binoculars trained on something high in the canopy, while she scribbles notes in a weatherproof journal. "I hear you're documenting quetzal nesting behaviors," I say quietly, not wanting to startle her during observation. Emily's entire body goes rigid. She lowers her binoculars slowly, turning to face me with an expression cycling through shock, disbelief, and something that might be hope. "Valerie, what are you doing here?" Breaking contracts and flying 3,000 miles to apologize for being an idiot, I admit, my prepared speech evaporating in the face of her actual presence. "And to offer you a business proposition involving Marcus Bell's gallery." "You broke the Meridian contract?" Emily's green eyes search my face as if confirming I'm not a stress-induced hallucination. Diana isn't speaking to me. I owe penalty fees that will take years to repay, and my reputation in traditional modeling is probably destroyed. I step closer, close enough to smell the forest mist in her hair, but I realize no amount of money matters without someone to share it with. Emily sets down her binoculars and field notebook with deliberate care. "The gallery proposition?" "Nature photography combining wildlife conservation with fashion imagery. Marcus wants to showcase your research alongside artistic interpretation of environmental protection." My words tumble out rapidly, nervous energy making me pace on the narrow platform. "We could document bird conservation efforts while creating images that make people care about protecting these habitats." "We?" Emily's voice carries cautious hope. "If you'll have me. If this isn't too late." I reach for her hands, finding them warm despite the mountain air's coolness. I've spent 3 months in New York learning that success without authenticity feels like failure. Emily studies our joined hands, then looks directly into my eyes. "I've been documenting bird species that might disappear within our lifetime due to deforestation. Every morning I wake up thinking about how you would see beauty in these creatures I'm trying to protect. Then let's protect them together," I whisper. Our kiss happens naturally, inevitably, tasting of mountain air and second chances. When we break apart, Emily's smile holds the same passionate intensity that first attracted me in that Miami literature classroom months ago. "Dr. Ramirez will probably think I'm crazy for modifying my research focus," Emily says, but her tone suggests she's already committed to this new direction. "Probably," I agree. "So will Marcus when he realizes we're planning to base operations in Costa Rica rather than Miami." Emily laughs, the sound echoing through the misty forest around us. "You're serious about this partnership?" "Dead serious. About the work, about us, about building something authentic together." I pull her closer, feeling her warmth against me in the cool mountain air. No more choosing careers over each other. Back in Miami 2 weeks later, we present our collaboration proposal to Marcus Bell, in his gallery surrounded by local artists and environmental advocates. Our slide presentation shows Emily's research documentation alongside concept sketches for fashion imagery that highlights conservation themes. The goal is making people fall in love with these species before they disappear, Emily explains to the captivated audience. Combining scientific accuracy with artistic beauty creates emotional connection to environmental protection. Marcus approves our partnership immediately, offering gallery space and promotional support for what he envisions becoming an annual exhibition. Standing beside Emily as she fields questions from marine biologists and fashion photographers alike, I realize we've found the authentic collaboration that both our separate careers were missing. That evening, in Emily's apartment overlooking Biscayne Bay, we make love with the urgency of people who nearly lost something irreplaceable. Our bodies remember each other perfectly despite months of separation, and afterward we plan the future we almost threw away for conventional definitions of professional success. No more splitting up, I whisper against Emily's shoulder as dawn approaches. Never again, she promises, her arms tightening around me as Miami awakens outside our windows. 3 months later, our first joint exhibition opens to packed crowds and critical acclaim. The photographs capture Emily's beloved birds in their natural habitats alongside artistic portraits showing fashion's potential harmony with environmental consciousness. Standing together at our opening reception, watching viewers discover beauty in both scientific research and creative interpretation, we've finally found work that reflects our authentic selves, rather than requiring us to perform ones. The success tastes sweeter because we're sharing it, and Miami's familiar warmth feels like coming home to ourselves.